By the end of today's video, you are going to know how to make the perfect vegan appetizer. What makes this appetizer so perfect? First of all, it's super easy to make. So that means regardless of your kitchen skills, you're going to be able to make this appetizer. Two, the ingredients are readily accessible, and that means I can find them at most major grocery stores. And finally, they are absolutely delicious. These are vegan sausage rolls, and they're basically vegan sausage that's encrusted in this nice buttery puff pastry. Oh, they're so good. They're absolutely my favorite appetizer. I love taking them to parties. I think you will too. So, hi, I'm Marley. I'm with the site Namely Marley. Thanks for joining me today. I'm really glad that you're here with me in my kitchen. I love creating plant-based recipes and sharing them with you. And I really love these vegan sausage rolls, and I think you're going to enjoy making them as well. They are very easy. They only require 5 ingredients. Did I say 5? There might be 6. I think it might be 6. So let's just go into that right now. So you're going to need some puff pastry. That's the number 1 ingredient, and some vegan sausage. And I like to add a little bit of breadcrumbs. And then, believe it or not, ingredients 4, 5, and 6 are made up into this vegan egg wash. And so we'll talk about that in just a second. Let's go back to the vegan sausages. I'm using these Beyond sausage. It happens to be my favorite. Of course, there are others like Impossible sausage, and another really great option is using Gimme Lean if you want something that's available, and it's probably available in a lot of health food stores. It's like a plant-based sausage, and obviously it's a play on words from, was it Jimmy Dean? So it's Gimme Lean. So it looks actually like a little roll of sausage. That stuff would work too. So what we're going to do is to these sausages, we're going to add, this is a 1/4 cup of breadcrumbs. And what I've done is just gotten a slice of whole wheat bread, and then I've toasted it really good and then put it in the food processor. You can obviously use store-bought breadcrumbs too. That works just as fine, or you can just leave it out. This will work regardless, however you do this. Now, sometimes I find you can use a spatula like I'm doing, or you sometimes just have to kind of get your hands in there to get those breadcrumbs to go throughout. You have to give that a little bit of a coaxing to get it going. The reason I like to add the breadcrumbs is because I feel like it makes things, it makes it a little bit cohesive and stick together. It gives a better texture, which I like. And I just like the extra boost that I get of flavor from the breadcrumbs. So that's just why I do that. So then what I like to do is I'm going to divide this in half. This is pretty good. Just needs to be roughly pulled together. My hands are a mess now, obviously, so I'm just going to wipe them off. And what I do is I cut this in half. And then just to make sure I kind of have an approximate, I cut those halves in half because we're going to be making 4 of these. This is for two full sheets of puff pastry, and today we're just really working with 1. So this is 1 sheet of puff pastry. I wanted to show you that I'm working with Pepperidge Farm puff pastry, which happens to be accidentally vegan. I always recommend checking the ingredients because sometimes products like this will change their ingredients, but for now it is accidentally vegan, which makes it perfect to use. So we're going to cut this in half, just kind of estimate it. You can measure it if you'd like, but I think just approximating is just fine. I'm going to put this one aside. We'll just be working with the one, and I like putting it on a sheet of parchment paper. It makes it a lot easier to work with. So I've got one of these segments of the sausage, and we're just going to spoon this in and kind of spread it out along one edge, and kind of making a roll is the way I like to describe it. Just a little roll of sausage. And I like to make sure it's all the way to the end. That way each of these pieces is usable. When you cut it, you'll know what I'm talking about. So then what I do is I grab the long end, and we're just going to give it a little roll. I like to start it out really tight. You can use the parchment paper to help with this if you'd like. And then kind of tuck it in as you go. This is the most difficult part of this whole recipe, I promise. And then that's it. Now what I like to do is just kind of push in the ends, make sure that way you've got that Impossible sausage or Beyond sausage all the way to the end, and make it look kind of even like that. Boom, that's it. So what I'll do then is we're going to cut these. They need to be around at an inch to inch and a half. I like to give it a little bit of a slice to get it started and then press down. And that way you get a nice round, so kind of a nice little cut of the puff pastry, and then push it down just like that. Boom, there we go. The other thing that you can do is if you're having trouble with your sausages, I like to have the seam side down, but if you have some that are not staying, just get a little bit of water and put that down like that. That'll help them stay put. I normally do that earlier on, but yeah, these are doing great, so I'm not even going to worry about it. Just keep the seam side down, and the weight of the roll will help those stay intact. So now I've got my pan, so I'm going to put the sausages on the pan, and I like to give them a little bit of room to spread out because they do spread as they bake. And I'll just now comes the time for, this is the vegan egg wash, and what I'm using is I have a couple of tablespoons of plant-based milk and a teaspoon or so of vegan butter. You can use olive oil. It just needs a little bit of fat to help it stick to what you're putting it on. And then I add just like half a teaspoon of maple syrup, because that syrup kind of gives that it gives it a shine and helps it get golden brown, which is what we're after. So I'm just going to brush all of these generously with the vegan egg wash, and this is how you're going to get a nice golden crust on top of each of these pastries. And I want you to have your oven preheated to 400 Fahrenheit, which is around 200 Celsius. There we go. As these are going to go right in the oven, and you'll bake them for 20 minutes. Absolutely, 20 minutes. There we go. These are going to go in the oven. And that's it. That's how easy this recipe is. I told you this was easy, and I guarantee you it is. Now, I told you early on that I have a favorite dipping sauce, and that is my vegan honey mustard. I'll have the link in the recipe card below, but it's basically around a third cup of vegan mayo. In this case, I actually used a plain soy yogurt, or plain yogurt, which actually was Siggy's, which is not soy, but it's I used plain yogurt. Add a little bit of mustard, like maybe a tablespoon or two, and then obviously a little bit of maple syrup, and maybe salt, and a little bit of white wine vinegar. The recipe's on my site, and I'll share the link below. It's really delicious, and it goes perfectly with sausage rolls because sausage and honey mustard is just delicious together. But there are other, ideas that you could have. So think about this. Like, if you have a favorite dipping sauce that you would have to serve with an appetizer like this one, leave a comment below because I want to hear from you. I'd love to hear, like, maybe it might be barbecue sauce, or you might have some other, maybe it's Italian dressing. I have no idea. I'm really curious to hear the kinds of things that you would serve this with. Yes, and you might ask, are there different things that you could do in the filling? Absolutely. You could even go kind of more plant-based and use some kind of lentil sausage filling. That would be delicious too. So there's so many options with this appetizer. It's delicious. I happen to really love using the Beyond sausage because it just keeps it nice and simple, which sometimes we really want. So I think it's time for the taste test. So let's get going. Sometimes when I'm making these and I smell them, they smell so good, and I'm so ready to try it. I haven't had one, so I'm ready today. Dip it in the little mustard. So good. That was a big bite. You get the flavor of that buttery flavor from the puff pastry. So good. And in the center, that nice hearty sausage. I mean, those Beyond sausage has the best sausage flavor. It's savory, it's salty, it's all the things. It's so delicious, and it's one of my favorites to take to parties. And I hope that you'll like this recipe as much as we do. So if you like today's recipe, I hope that you'll leave a comment below. Tell me what your favorite sauces are. Leave a comment. Yes, like and subscribe for more recipes coming your way every week. Bite number 2.